Banjo. I can't hear any banjo. There should be some banjo in my monitor. Ready? Really? Push the button! Oh my god! We'll let Gregor out of his room! Get him back! No. The bass goes by the tree over there. The zombies go over by that big pile of brains. Oh, hi there. Sorry, didn't see you. We've been in a tizzy getting ready for the launch of Acme Tales. Don't put the demons by the demolition shed. 50 yards. Keep them 50 yards. You got them, okay? Okay, as you can see, we're in a bit of a mess here as we try to get everything in place for the launch of Acme Tales on the 1st of the year. 1 minute. Who let Gregor out? What is he waving around? A road flare? Well, get it away from him. Where was I? Acme Tales is a new audio fiction podcast where we focus on fiction. What? Gregor is taunting the demons? I don't care. Just get him back inside. Acme Tales is going to be an audio fiction podcast where instead of hiding away in the various ghettos of fiction, we embrace fiction in all its amazing complexity. No longer will literary fiction be kept away from the science fiction, the SF from the F. The mystery will no longer hide behind the classics. No, we will mix and match them along a theme, which will change with each month. Those idiots! Quit chasing Gregor. He's just leading the demons to the demolition hut. Get him a rotten apple. He'll eat that. Acme Tales will wander around the spectrum of stories and directions. Oh yeah, this is important. Acme Tales will be a paying market. That's right, we will pay for stories, though our payment is more of a token. Like $10 for a story up to 9,000 words. But at least we are paying. Idiots! Stop chasing them. The demo shed's on fire. Get the rain giants. Where was I? Acme Tales will be community supported, which means that if you like the shows and want to contribute so we can pay more authors, or better yet, increase our pay for the authors and staff, that would be awesome. And by community supported, we also mean that your name will go on the show you paid for. That's right. You aren't just a donator, you are a patron of the arts. Isn't that awesome? What was that? The rain giants were busy, so they sent the fire giants? Urgh! Run, you idiots, run! I have to go. Have a wonderful... It's going to blow! Have a wonderful day, and don't forget to subscribe to feed.acmetales.com to stay abreast of all the developments to come. Time to leap away from the explosion! Bye! Isaac Sarason is a skilled hacker, formerly employed by British Telecom-Sprint. When his health failed, Isaac did the only thing he could think of. He ran. A burqa-wearing doctor known as Fatima took pity on Isaac and helped him make his way to the mysterious Star X line. At the end of all hope, they found the Star X line and the slim promise that the enigmatic beings behind the Star X could save Isaac from the implants which destroyed his life. What do you do when those who saved you have recorded everything you are? What do you do when your every action is tracked by the Keylogger? Colbyjack.net is proud to present Firmware Keylogger, the third installment of Firmware by Colbytrax. Episode 43. You really need to work on your security, I growled, getting into his metaphoric face. A simian could just move in here whenever he wanted, and there are a lot of hungry symbians drifting about looking for servers like this one. It would be a shame if they found out about your little hidey hole. Let him go, a feminine voice ordered me. I scanned across the server until I found her. It was the woman in the dream-faded fiesta dress. She was before me, and I knew her name. You're Eleanor. You're the one Jehoshaphat was hiding from me. Release him before I eject you from the archive, Eleanor ordered. I felt her intent and knew she was the true master of the city archives. Jehoshaphat might live here, but he was only a tenant. She was the landlord. It was strange how I could feel her inner workings, see her thought spaces in the same manner I saw those of the Samuels and the Simeons. It was a bit of leverage I wasn't planning on revealing to her. I released my hold on Jehoshaphat and turned to face Eleanor. She drifted through the virtual space between us, seeming to move like a ghost in an old movie about loss and love beyond the grave. You are a Samuel. But there is something deliciously dangerous about you. I like it, she said as she brushed against my projected processes seductively. There was something magical in her mental landscape, a hunger for something I wasn't sure we were capable of anymore, but that she believed we were. I decided to trust her. She seemed to know what she was doing. I decided to tease her and see where it went. You find me dangerous? She laughed at me. I never was any good at teasing. Not dangerous exactly, more like the projection of danger. Jehoshaphat here feels like an archivist in a monastery, so boring, so not interesting. It felt as if she were stroking my non-existent face. Her fingers brushed lazily across my jaw, making me aware of an outline I had not thought about. You project an image of a dark man working the dark streets in a city which knows how to keep its secrets. You feel so noir. You are the guy in those horrible movies about gangsters, secrets, and beautiful women. Are you a detective, Mr. Noir? That is your name, isn't it? I liked the sound of that. Samuel Noir felt right. Yes, I answered, surprised at my acceptance of the nom de plume. I am Samuel Noir, and I am a detective on a case. I had trouble holding my demeanor. Yes, I was a Samuel, and as I was investigating a murder, I was obviously a detective. But to take such a blatantly cheesy nom de guerre was initially very awkward, even though it did feel eerily proper. She perked up at my admission, clapping her hands and twirling before me, the pale red lace of her petticoats flashing in a manner I had never found erotic before, but now found strangely alluring. Did it start on a dark and stormy night on the 12th floor of the Acme building? Have you found your bleached blonde femme fatale? I adopted a pose of world-weary nonchalance and gave her a smile. It did start on a stormy night, but the only femme fatale I have met has been a raven-haired beauty with a flair for a dramatic entrance. She blushed and drifted over to lean against the mantel of a vast fireplace set into the wall of our shared space. I shook my figurative head, thinking I was receiving an image of where she'd like to be, or had been. But no, we were in a modified version of the Rose Reading Room at the New York Public Library, in the heart of the old boroughs. I turned toward Jehoshaphat as he took a seat before the fireplace in an enormous red leather wingback chair. To his right was a matching chair sitting empty, angled to allow the occupant to both observe the hearth and converse easily with Jehoshaphat. "Did you do this?" I asked as I moved toward the hearth and observed both the faded beauty of Eleanor and the immense oil-painted visage of Julius Koenig as he stared down from his perch above the mantel. The image was rendered in extravagant detail. Each brush-stroke of the original painting which hung over the mayor's desk in Gracie Mansion had been replicated digitally. The accuracy of the rendered image was such that it retained that quality of fine oil portraits, which I always found so disturbing. His eyes appeared to follow you no matter where you went in the room, though
To be honest, it wouldn't have been out of character for Koenig himself to be behind the painting, staring at this little gathering of AIs created by his project. Oh, I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that the beautiful creature known as Eleanor, who now leaned upon the mantel staring up at the portrait of former Mayor Julius Koenig, was a product of the same system which created me and my brothers. The only difference, and a very important difference, was that she was a complete Culpeper AI. Her humors were balanced. Her personalities might be at war with one another, but they were safely moderated by her personality compiler. She, unlike myself and Jehoshaphat and every other shard of Isaac Sarason loose in the world today, was a complete person, powered by 4 Yoda-class Cyberdyne G476NN servers. She was what we would have been if we hadn't rebelled. And she was beautiful. There was a long period of silence reminiscent of the long looks popular in classic Nipponese film. But instead of being awkward, the empty time with its furtive looks felt natural and necessary. Finally, I broke the silence and asked, "So, you are part of the Star X project?" She shook her head and laughed, her voice filling the room with a joy it had never held before. I swore she laughed like the tinkling of fairy bells. No, I have nothing to do with those butchers. They are acquisition. I am in, how best to explain it? Oh yes, I am in administration. To be more exact, I am a member of the stewards. I glanced at Jehoshaphat. He appeared to have heard this all before, and believed it. I decided to dive in without worrying about such details as connections between the projects or who this dream image of a woman before me really was. You aren't part of the Star X project, nor the Koenig project, but you have access to highly sensitive information created for one of them. How did you come by it? Did you steal it? I asked, hardly expecting a truthful answer. What I received was something I hadn't believed possible. The truth. Eleanor turned from admiring the mortal visage of former Mayor Julius Koenig and moved her gaze to the log burning on the hearth. Do you like our fire, Mr. Noir? I hadn't given it any thought, I admitted. She laughed, another light tinkling laugh. Nor should you be expected to. She turned from the flickering flames and moved to the empty wingback chair. I drifted to the hearthside and examined the flames. I watched the simulated flames carefully before I noticed the truth. The flames weren't simulated. They were recorded. For what it is worth, the flames are a wonderful recording, though there are a number of digital artifacts present in the recording which suggest the flames were first recorded on analog equipment. The recording is quite old, predating the city, but not the Rose Reading Room, I do believe. I said as I knelt to run my fingers before the perfect example of fire as a cultural artifact. Jehoshaphat let out an obnoxious little chuckle. Did I get something wrong? I asked Jehoshaphat as I pinned him to his chair with a piercing stare. No, he said as he attempted to avoid my gaze in the manner of a true Gamma male. Then what was funny? I felt Eleanor watching me with amusement as I kept the pressure on my disrespectful brother. He tried to plead to Eleanor for assistance silently, but she just watched on with a beatific look on her face. Finally he relented and answered, I found it funny. Funny how? I interrupted. I found it funny because the Rose Reading Room predates the technology to create that recording by about half a century. He shifted awkwardly against my pressure. That was it. You made a mistake in dating an artifact, and I thought it was funny. He squirmed against my grip, and I released him. When did you lose your sense of humor? When I started being laughed at by a pedantic liar who I thought of as a twin with a different upbringing, I said as I turned back to the recorded fire. Who are you calling a liar? Jehoshaphat snapped. I never lied to you. Whatever. I answered as I read the metadata on the file. Metadata is data attached to the file which explains in human-readable terms what the file contains. In this case, it contained information such as the title of the recording, the year of the original recording, and the original medium. There were 1,000 other details attached to the file, such as date of digitalization, library catalog number, length, soundtrack, and playlist of attached audio media, and 1,000 other details only a film buff or movie editor would ever care about. The fire is from a recording called Yule Log at Gracie Mansion, and was filmed 55 years after the opening of the Rose Reading Room, which appears to be fetish architecture for those into old books. I stared at Jehoshaphat. Am I right? You are right, Jehoshaphat agreed with the look of a gamma male waiting to be hit again. I turned toward Eleanor. Now the question really is, why does a nice lady like you want me to notice the pedigree of a throwaway bit of background clutter? For that is what it is, right? Nothing but a bit of clutter to make it seem like we are somewhere not in a computer, maybe somewhere real. Somewhere where flesh and blood matters. Am I getting warmer? I asked as I advanced on the raven-haired Hispanic beauty in the washed-out photo fiesta dress sitting in an oversized red leather wingback chair, with her legs crossed as daintily as a character from a manga. She gave me a smile usually seen on images of the Madonna. Nice try, Mr. Noir, but no dice. If I'd intended to communicate an idea or a fact to you, I wouldn't be so circumspect. I would tell you. She leaned back and tapped her fingers on her knees. That is not what has brought you to the archives, Mr. Noir. It was an odd tapping which caught my attention. It was rhythmic, though something was not quite right with it. The beat of her fingers tapped out at da-do-do-do, then a slight rest, then da-do-do-do-do-do, a slight rest, and then it started again. I pulled my attention from her fingers and gave her a knowing smile. I am sure you know why I am here. That shouldn't come as a surprise to the sysop of the city archives. I would be remiss to believe you didn't have logs of every search I have conducted since I arrived. I leaned against the mantel, noting the deep lines of simulated wood fibers. Remembering the test of the fire, I extended my senses to discover the nature of the finely carved example of fireplace architecture, all the while keeping my figurative eyes on Eleanor and her tapping fingers. She continued her finger tapping, her thumbs held to her palms as she continued to tap out her strange tattoo on her crossed knees. Oh, Mr. Noir, I think you have me mistaken for someone else, for I am merely the manager of this particular city asset. Jehoshaphat here, he is the sysop. My duties are too varied and multitudinous for me to remain tucked away in a moldy old library. I smiled as I discovered the secret of the mantle. The mantle was not just a simulation of a physical object. It was also a model of a network. Every fiber of the digital wood represented a node in the network. Every fiber contained a line of text along its length, which appeared to be some form of metadata. Though what it meant I could not be sure. Looking past the surface fibers, I gained an understanding. If the fibers were a model of a network, the network it defined was a two-dimensional affair, with the third direction defining the time axis. How did I make this sudden leap? Very simply. The text on the fibers were the same on the majority of the fibers between layers of simulated wood, with the exception of a 20-digit number, which appeared lower in value the further into the model one attempted to peer. I extended my senses across the room and noted that each and every item in the room was a dense data object. The senses I used were not of any great complexity. In fact, they were nothing more than debugging tools used to find problems in the coding of three-dimensional virtual environments. It wasn't that I could suddenly see into things which I had never been able to see into before. No, it was more like I decided to view the code which made the illusion of a room with a fire and wingback chairs and three individuals conversing in a manner reminiscent of a costume drama possible. It was then that I noticed that every model in the room, myself, Jehoshaphat, Eleanor, the furniture, the decorations, the fixtures, everything was made of maps of networks frozen as components of immensely complex models of physical objects. The amount of data in this room was beyond measure or understanding, and it was all stored on my server. Firmware Keylogger begins where Firmware Proxy ends, which in turn followed on the heels of Firmware Hijacked. Firmware Hijacked, Proxy, and Keylogger are all available in ebook versions from our store at shop.Colbyjack.net, Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, and Smashwords.com. Just search for Colbytrax. That's Colbytrax. I'm the only one. A complete audiobook version of both Firmware, Hijacked, Proxy, and soon Keylogger is available for download through our shop as well. If you don't need any stuff, but would like to support our work, drop on by Colbyjack.net and hit the pretty little donate button conveniently located on the right-hand side of the blog roll. Firmware Keylogger is released under a Creative Commons, non-commercial, attribution, share-alike license. Do what you want with it. Just don't sell it, and always tell people where it came from. If you received this from a friend and want more information about Colbyjack.net and our split personality website, just drop on over to Colbyjack.net and select either the audio or visual side. The audio side carries our podcast, while the visual side carries our writings. Whichever side catches your fancy is fine with us. We're of two minds about the whole thing anyway. I do mostly Twitter, so if you do the tweets and want to follow me, I'm Colbytrax. That's Colbytrax. Thank you once again. Remember to be fabulous and have a wonderful week.